Why aren't LGBTQ issues agree to disagree issues in most evangelical churches? Hi, I'm William Stell, and I'm a scholar of religion and sexuality in the United States. There's nothing inevitable about this particular line in the sand. Anti-LGBTQ evangelical leaders had to work to convince their followers that excommunication and schism were the only proper responses to pro-LGBTQ views in their midst. To do this, evangelical leaders used the same tactic that pro-slavery Christians had used 100 years earlier, and the same tactic that segregationist Christians had used just a few years earlier, in some cases in evangelical-zone churches. That tactic was to insist that differences in biblical interpretation on LGBTQ issues necessarily indicated a disregard for the Bible's authority on the part of pro-LGBTQ Christians. Which is a clever tactic, because it means that you can ignore the specifics of your opponent's biblical exegesis, and it helps you avoid thinking critically about your own biblical hermeneutic. The problem is that evangelical leaders themselves occasionally let on that the tactic was bogus. Plenty of pro-LGBTQ Christians held the same theological principles and the same hermeneutical principles that anti-LGBTQ evangelicals did. I'll give just one example from 50 years ago in the evangelical magazine Christianity Today. In describing the Metropolitan Community Churches, a Christian denomination with a largely LGBTQ membership, the author states, quote, "The most surprising thing about the MCC is that on virtually every doctrine but sexual behavior, it is as fundamental as any evangelical church. The doctrines of the way of salvation, infallibility of the Bible, person and work of Christ, and evangelism its pastors espouse are all in line with the Pentecostal teachings on which the church's founder, the Reverend Troy Perry, was educated." Now, over time, evangelical leaders got better at keeping their lips shut whenever they came across gay Christians and gay-affirming Christians who believed the same things they believed. Because what those examples expose is that for anti-LGBTQ evangelicals, the Bible wasn't their line in the sand. The Bible was the tool that they used to draw the lines wherever they wanted.